I'll be starting the workshop now. Thank you guys for coming. Uh, we're gonna be, I'm gonna be teaching you guys how to do React basically today. Uh, and I'll show you guys the agenda actually. Uh, yeah, so today I'm gonna be basically explaining what React is, why it's actually needed, how you can write UI apps, like web apps using it. And then I'll be getting into a bit of like web dev and JavaScript stuff because it's hard to learn React like without knowing the full picture, basically. So I guess let's just get started. What is React? React is just a JavaScript framework, like a JavaScript library. There's no routing, there's no like language stuff. There's nothing in React itself. It's just you just import it and you use it. That's why if you've ever heard of like Create React app, right? Or Vite maybe, you use that to build a React web app. It was made by Facebook, and the whole purpose of it is, as the name says, reactivity. Uh, it's also one of the most popular open source projects on GitHub. So if you've ever seen like the amount of stars it has, it's absurd. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about, the prior knowledge thing. You can open up the slides through that link. And then if I ever use a term you don't understand, I probably have it here. So, and I'll just do a quick run through. When I say DOM, right, that's document object model, I think. That's basically the structure of an actual website. So, when you see a title, right, and then you see a body and then a footer, that's going to be laid out like a tree. And I'll show you guys the diagram later, but that's basically what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the physical, like the physical layout of the page, basically. Then, uh, so then two words you guys need to know is setter and getter. If you've done object-oriented programming, you probably already know this. It's to basically set and get values in a fancy manner. The reason you do this over just doing something like, say, let birthday, and then you type your birthday. Uh, Maybe if you type in your birthday, you want to do a check, right? Is this some minor? Do you have to like kick him out or something? To add that check, you have to write logic through the setter, which is why you don't just do equal sign. You do like a function and then put the variable in the function. And then JavaScript has a quirky way to put functions. Normally, you can just do function and then the name and the parameter, right? In JavaScript, you can also declare a function as a variable. So here you can see const name, so like the name of the function, and then all its parameters, and then what the function does. This gets set inside a variable, and then you can just call that variable like a regular function. The last thing you might need to know is in JavaScript, the way you put variables inside strings, you do these fancy quotes. I don't know what it's called. I think it's like tilde or something. And then you can put $sign and then brackets for the variable. So, if you, uh, if does anyone have any questions about this part? It'll make more sense to you as we go on. This is just something to refer to. Okay, no questions. Yeah, so this is why React is like needed. Uh, if you've ever done regular web dev and wrote JavaScript, because you need JavaScript, right? If you have to update the actual physical page, it's a very tedious process. You first have to get the like element you want to modify. You have to add like abilities to it. So like on click, right? You have a button. You click it, it needs to do something. And then you have to update the text when the value changes. So let's say let clicks equal 0. When you update clicks, it doesn't show up automatically. You have to manually show the change on the page. That's why React was made. It simplifies that whole process through something called JSX. So this is the same code as the previous slide. Wait, is it visible for everyone, or is it like too small or something? Okay. Yeah. So this is the same code, except this time you're making a React component that returns HTML as like a function variable. So you see here, right? Clicks, and then we just enter the clicks variable. So whenever clicks changes, it changes automatically on the web page. It does it through this thing called the useState hook. Uh, I was talking about a getter and a setter, right? That's basically what this useState is. The useState returns clicks, which is a getter, and then set clicks, which is a setter. Now, whenever you use set click and you change it to a value, it updates the page automatically. If you just change it directly, right? If you do equal signs, it's not going to know to actually show the change. It's just going to change it in the back. And then I have here an example of handle click, like to actually increase the number of clicks. Set click doesn't just take a variable as a input. It actually takes in a function as an input. So the function it takes in here is like a function with parameter number and returns a number. So you could just do set clicks 2, right? But then it'll just keep setting it to 2. You want it to increase. So you take in an e, which is the previous variable of the state, and then you return e plus 1, which is the new value. So now when you do button on click and you just insert it like this, like otherwise you have to like do double quotes and then you have to type out the function. But here it's just inline. You refer to it just directly and it just automatically like works. It does the important part for you. Yeah. So that's kind of like how you see a homepage, right? Like the button example, that's one part. Now, if you've ever built a website, you're going to have many reusable components. Say a login button, right? You'll have to have a login button on each page. So if you didn't have anything, if you just were given HTML and JavaScript, you just keep copy pasting the code on multiple pages, right? Well, in React, one of the core features is its reusability. The reusability lets you export that HTML as a function. So here you can see hello world and then click button, right? Click button was a function we made in the previous slide. So function click button and it returns HTML. We can then refer that HTML in another page called the home page. So maybe home page is the actual website, right? And click button is just a very small like part of it. So you can just refer to it and it works again automatically. If I'm going to get into the tree later, but this is an example by like Facebook itself. This is the example they provided of using a component as like referring to a component basically. So I'm going to deconstruct one more thing about this. Components need to be like they might need some small changes, right? Wait, sorry, am I going too fast? Does anyone have any questions so far? No? Okay, everyone's good. So yeah, so you might need to change a component slightly. So in this example, the amount of the recipe, like this is a page that just returns a recipe, right? If it's for 2 people, the recipe needs to be less than if it's for a gathering, right? So in that case, you're not going to make a different instance of the same component multiple times. You're going to take in a variable, you're going to see how it affects, and then just return it. So we know the number of drinkers, like say cups of water, right? For each person that's eating, you need 1 cup of water. So we can take in a prop. That's what it's called. It's called props. You take in a prop called drinkers here. You return, like you print out drinkers here. So now when you call the function, like we did the click button, instead of just calling it regularly, we can pass in a prop called drinkers, which is a number. So here it's 2. So you print out 2 when you call this component. And then for the second component, you print out 4. And you do the same. Like it's templating basically. So this is how it kind of works behind the scenes. This is also why it's important to use state, because this like you see this React DOM, right? That's what I was referring to, the DOM. The DOM is the actual HTML that is displayed. The way it knows to update the HTML is by drawing up a React tree. So here you have multiple components, right? I think the arrows are wide, that's why you can't see it. But this is how the components are laid out. You have component B that's being called by component A, and you have C, which is called by component A. Now, if A is updated, say you have a use state in A, and you set some value, it's going to refresh the whole tree, and you can see this blue thing, right? So it refreshes only when there's changes. That's also why use effect is a very popular React hook. This is different from Flutter, if anyone has any like experience with that, where Flutter just keeps changing it every second, like every 60 times in a second. Yeah. So this is another example to be a little more like explicit about it. So you have a main app, right? That's your project. and then you can return multiple components within it. And that's basically how you archetype, like you set up the whole app. Uh, yeah, so this is what I was talking about, React hooks. Uh, at the end of the slides, there's like a more information page where I believe I have the links for all the React hooks. So these are the two that we're going to be using today. We're going to be building a Wordle clone. And for that, we need a use effect and a use state. So the use state is to keep track of all the changes, right? Uh, what the use effect does is it needs to run as a side effect of the change in the variables. Um, what does that mean? Well, if you have a get val right here, a default example, say we need to check every time a user enters a new letter, we need to check, is it right, is it wrong, right? So for that, we put a use effect. And then inside the second, you see this square brackets? Inside that, we put the dependencies. So whenever set val is used, right? Whenever you change the value, this function is run. And then say you want to just run it once on the page. You want to print out a hello user, but you don't want to keep printing it out every time the page is like refreshed, right? So you don't put anything in the dependency. You just put empty brackets. So uh, say like you just want to alert the user once that hey, you have an ad blocker. You put it here, and it'll alert it. Once they close it, it's done. If you directly put console.log runs once or whatever, right? Every time there's a new change, and you know this tree, like every time this refreshes, right? These blue bars refresh. Every time they refresh, the function will run again and again and again with no stop, unless if you put it inside use effect. So you have to be careful about these stuff because these are like the memory leaks that people talk about when it comes to React. So this is what we're going to be building today. We're going to be building a Wordle clone. I'm going to be building it with you guys. Uh, if you guys can open the slides on slide, I don't know what slide it is. Yeah, on slide 14, I have two links, one for IDX and then one for the GitHub. Uh, Open up idx.google.com/import and then copy this link and copy it as like a repository. Also, give me a thumbs up when you're done. Or if you have any questions, raise your hand. Does everything make sense so far? Okay, I'm going to assume it does. Oh, you see this link, tinyurl.com? Just go there. Does anyone have any like errors or any problems? Do you have a question? Oh, yeah. Also, when you do this, you're probably going to see an error that says why it could not be found, like on this area. In that instance, what you do is you open up the terminal like by just dragging this basically. You drag the bottom bar up, you type npm install, and then it'll install the dependencies, and then it should start working. So yeah, I guess give me a thumbs up if you guys get that. Yeah, npm. Yeah. Yeah, I wrote the command here. Oh, and you just put the like it. So, you can come to this one. You guys see that I will work like text on the- Yeah. Okay. I think everyone's done. Is there anyone who still like might need help or something? Okay. So let's start with building the website then. So I want you to open up the source folder and go to app.jsx. This app.jsx is where the entry point of your app is. What that means is this is like the top of the root, right? There's nothing in the app yet, but it starts here. That's why you see a hello world. If you want to experiment, you can change this to like say goodbye world. Um, and then once you save it, it should just update instantly. You can experiment with this if you want. Uh, and this is the format. I hope this feels familiar to you guys. It's a function, it returns HTML, and then you just export that HTML. You can add CSS by importing just a CSS file directly. So you can see app.css here, right? You don't have to set it anywhere. You just import it and it should just work. So let's start by writing the state of the app, right? Uh, well, we need one variable to store guesses, the past guesses. We need one to store our current guess, and then one to store what the actual correct word that we're guessing is. So we can just use the use state the function, and so this will be the past guesses, uh, and then set past guesses, right? And then the use state returns this. Wait, let me close this. Yeah. Uh, So use state then returns this getter and setter, and then it takes in a default value as its parameter. So right now we want our guesses to be just be an empty array. Also, all the code for this is on the slides. If you're already like, if I'm going too slow, you can feel free to go ahead. I'll help you regardless. So then we go for our current guess. So our current guess is just going to be an empty string because the user hasn't put anything. And then we put the setter and getter. And then we want the correct word. So correct word, right now, again, we don't know. If you want, you can just put like just a random word as its default value. You don't have to though. So this is the state of the app. Uh, we want to now actually do something with it, right? We have the values, but we're not. There's no way for the user to actually put anything. Uh, let's write. Uh, let's first change the document. All right. Uh, we want to see the actual page on the right. We don't just want to keep writing code and then not see our results. So let's delete this default return statement and let's change it to a main. Uh, and then let's add a div that just says the title, right? So this word guessing game. So again, instantly updates. This is just regular Java, like regular HTML, nothing fancy. Uh, let's add another div uh, for the word grid, like the squares that we see and then we guess. Uh, so you put a word grid here. Now, the word grid is a component I wrote. You can go through it if you want here. This is the component I wrote. I tried writing like a description of it as well. Uh, what it does is just that. It shows you the words in like a grid. It takes in a few props. It takes in a current guess prop, which will be our like guess state. It'll take in a previous guesses, like guesses, uh, and then that will be past guesses, and then it will take a correct word. Uh, which yeah, this is just how you give the prop information so that this like the component knows, hey, what is the user typing? Hey, what is the correct word? We don't have to like write information in it in the component. We handle it from the like top of the root, basically, from the top of the tree. Now let's actually add a function to handle changes, right? Uh, I'm going to be writing the handle key function. It takes in a key, whatever the character is the user has typed, and then it doesn't return anything. It just changes the state. So the way we do that is now we set the guess. Uh, and then similar to the previous example, the set guess this time, we're going to give it a function rather than just a value. So we're going to give it a, I just like to call it E because like simple. You can call it guess or like old guess or whatever. So the set guess contains another function. Uh, and this function now, we check if E, let me change it to old guess so that it's more verbose. Yeah, if old guess is more than 4 letters, right? We know there's the next input is going to make it 5 letters. And once it's 5 letters, we know, it's we've gone over the board, like we've gone over the limit, and now we have to move on to the next guess. So if it's more than 4, we'll set past guesses, we'll update past guesses. So as I mentioned again, past guesses is our previous guesses, right? Like the array of the grids. So past guesses is takes in another function. So we have a function within a function within a function, I guess within a function. And this past guesses is for this past guesses, we just add the old guess. So old guess plus the new key, and then we return a P. So this adds a new value to the old guesses. And then I guess we can set the guess to empty now, right? Because we've added the old value, like the old guess. We move on now. So this return, this is kind of tricky to like visualize, I guess, because this return is for set guess, and this return is for set past guess, and we've technically not written returned nothing for this, right? So just be careful about your brackets, and you should be fine. So if length is more than 4, we return an empty blank, like empty string, because it's nothing. But if it's not, we just return the old guess plus the new value. So now set guess works, should work perfectly fine, right? It's going to just append to the old guesses once it's more than 5 characters, and then just add it to the current guess if it's less. So this is a handle key. Does anyone have any questions about the syntax or anything? I'll wait like a few seconds. Okay, I'm gonna write now. So we have a way to put keys, right? Let's see if it actually works. Um, let's now add an event listener. Wait, sorry. I'll is everyone following me with me so far? Give me a thumbs up if you like written this much. Yeah. Uh, this function. Yeah. So the only thing inside handle key is first we just put a set guess, right? Um, so we give set guess a function. Wait, I'll go from like the very deep and then I'll go out. So set past guesses, yeah. Uh, wait, wait, sorry. What do you not understand about this function? Okay. Set guess. This is the setter we have for the current like use state thing. We give that like the parameter a function. This function goes from here to here. All right. The function takes in a parameter, uh, old guess, and then returns a string. That's the function we have to give set guess. Then inside that function, we check for the length of the previous guess. If it's more than 4, we have to put it in the past guesses, right? Like it's an old guess now, and then we have to move on to the next guess. So that's what we're doing here. We're setting past guesses. Again, we're giving another function to the inside. Um, Yeah, yeah. So that's why we're checking. So when this is called, we have another letter, right? So if it's 4, we know when you add a letter, it's going to be 5. So we just move on to the next one. Something more like if you wanted, you could do like 5 here and then remove this and then, but yeah. Okay, and then this return is again for the set guess. So if it's more than 4, we have to reset it. Like if it's 5, we have to reset it. That's why we return an empty string. Uh, and then if it's not, it'll just go here, and then we just return the old guess plus key. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah. So when you actually start pressing anything, it's not going to do anything. We have to add a listener for that. A listener is like a just a JavaScript thing. It's not a React thing. But when we add the listener, we have to do so inside a use effect. So I'll start typing it now. We have to make a new use effect. This takes in a function, and then we're putting empty brackets because there's no dependencies. We want this to run once on the website and then never again. So if you add like a console log hi, and then you open the web console and you refresh it, it'll say hi, and then that's it. If you add it outside, it might run multiple times. So why don't we try that actually? Uh, so it's not doing it right now because nothing's changing on the website. But say we add a new letter here, right? It'll just infinitely keep going hi, 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 hi. So we wanna not do that. We want it to run once. Uh, yeah. So let's add a document dot add event listener. Uh, we want it to run whenever the user puts a key down. Like whenever the user touches a key, right? Whenever it types something, we want to listen to that. We want to see what he does. So this takes in another function. Uh, wait, okay. This takes in another function that now we process the letter. So first things first, let's get the letter the user has typed. Uh, and we're doing it only in lowercase so that it's easier for us to like manage. Uh, and then we want to now see if it's within a certain range. So for example, semicolons, right? If you ever use Wordles, I don't think you can just put semicolons. It has to be A through Z. So we check that if letter is greater than Z, or if it's less than A, uh, just return, right? We don't want to do anything. We just want to leave the function to return. Let's add more checks. Let's do if letter length is more than 1, or if it's not even a key down, right? It's just something else, which shouldn't happen, but you never know. You might have made a error somewhere. So if it's any of these conditions, you just leave. You don't need to do anything. So if you're at this point, it's probably a correct key. So now we can just input this key into the handle key function we wrote earlier. So letter, and then that's it. Now, if you refresh the page or whatever, and you say, yeah, so now if you type something, it will show up as in the input. And let me show you the high thing now, since we have updating state. Um, so it runs higher, but then uh, every time you do a change on the website, it keeps printing high multiple times. It keeps doing it at every state change, so which can get messy. Yeah. Especially if you're doing like say you're working with an API, right? And you have to send a request to get some information. If you set in a use effect, you can get it once, deal with it however you want, and then just display it, right? But if you set it if somewhere outside the use effect, you'll keep fetching every time the user types something, he scrolls or something, like makes changes basically. Does the use effect make sense to everyone? Uh, raise your hand if you have any questions, and I'll give you guys a second to copy this down. Yeah. Um, let's also now add a function to backspace, because if you type the wrong letter, there's no way to reset right now. So let's make a new function, backspace key, and it's in the same like function format, right? Uh, except now what we want to do is we set guess, and then we have old guess. Uh, if the length of the old guess is more than 0, uh, we return a substring of the guess. Uh, that's basically excluding the last element. I'm pretty sure there's an easier way to do this, but this is just how I do it. And then if it's 0, like if it's nothing, we just return an empty string. So this is how you backspace now. So now let's, in our event listener, we can add another check. So we have to add it on top of this, because a backspace event technically qualifies as part of this, so it'll return. So we just add something here. Yeah, so we just, if it's a backspace, we just call the function and then we leave. So we can see that now. Oh, wait. Yeah, backspace works. Uh, does anyone have any questions or anything? Is it working for you? Also, it's probably just working on that. Yeah. Maybe also, I'm not doing exactly all of the slides I will cover. So something like saying that the class basically treatment. So at the start of the, like when you load the website, there's one more thing we need to do, which is we need to set what the actual correct word is, right? We don't have anything to guess right now. So I have an array called words. You can find it here, random words, right? You can add more five letter words if you want, but these are the ones I've added. Say we're gonna first just get a random word. Uh, this is like how you basically get it randomly. Okay. So just add these two lines. Yeah, add these two lines. This is basically you're getting a word. Well, let me make it more verbose. Yeah. So you're getting a random word from this array. And right now it's just printing it, but we want to change the correct word, right? So we do set correct word, and then we change it to whatever word we've gotten. So now we technically have the game like main game loop working. So you can start like guessing. So this works now. Like we have this information that the component is getting from this word grid, right? This props. So you can try playing the game right now. That part works. What we want to do now is once a user actually guesses the right word, you want to end the game uh, and just tell them like, hey, you guessed the word, this was the word. So for that, we add another use effect. Uh, Except this time we need dependencies, right? We don't want to run this once. That doesn't make sense. We want to run this every time a user makes a guess, every time a new guess is added, and etc. So we can just add it. The dependencies we want to add are the current guess, the past guesses, and the correct word. Okay. So now this use effect will run whenever you change something. So let's try that out. Okay. So yeah, every time you change something, it updates. If you remove guess and you just make it past guesses, it'll print it out whenever there's a new guess, or it should at least. But I don't know what it's not doing. It's weird with arrays, but that's why I've just guessed here. Okay, so here uh, we want to see the previous guess, right? Whenever it's more than four characters, it goes to the next guess, which means all the previous guesses are old guesses that the user has already done. So we don't want to check all of them. We just want to check the last one. So we can just do call last guess and then just call that. I'm pretty sure you can do pop, but I'm not confident how it behaves with state. And then we just check if last guess is the correct guess. Uh, we tell the user, hey, you guessed it right. And then we can just add the correct word here. So this will now alert you once you've made the right guess. We also want to reset our guess. So we just set past guesses to an empty array and then set guess to this. And then we can just copy paste this code to reset the random word now. So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to look at the words. Like you. I'm pretty sure because of IDX, it doesn't alert the user. because it's like a web browser thing. But if you're running this locally, it will give you a pop-up that says you've won. Yeah, sorry. Mhm. Which two lines? Um, like here or these? Yeah. Can you see it? Okay. Is everyone like done with this stuff? Oh, okay. That's on like. No, I think it's in it. Huh? I think it's in it. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. Yeah. Can I? You can do it for this challenge. Like 2 minutes. There's one more component. Okay. Right. Yeah. Okay. While this is technically complete, if you've actually opened Borders, you'll notice they have like a really pretty keyboard, right? So why don't we type that as a component? Uh, go to your like files, open up keyboard.jsx, and then at the bottom here, don't delete any of this stuff. Just create a new function called keyboard, uh, which is a React function. Yeah. So this is the keyboard we'll be having. In its props, we want let's see, we want so this will be an object. Uh, I'm not going to type the whole thing, but if you open the document like this, uh, I've described here what you need. You need a handle key, which is the function we wrote to handle, right? Because if the user clicks on the keyboard, we still need to do something. Next, we need the correct word, and then last we need the guesses, so that we know if the user has guessed a word and the letters in the word, but it's not in the right place, show a yellow. If it's in the right place, show a green. So for that stuff, we need these three information. So this is a bit wordy, so you could just copy this, I think, because I'm not sure how good we are on time. Uh, Also, I'll explain this once I'm done typing. Actually, I'll just copy this. Yeah. So what we're doing here is we're adding JavaScript to the curly brackets like we've done before, except we're now going to loop through keyboard keys. So keyboard keys, if you scroll up here, is an array of arrays. It's your like WSD, like it's your keyboard layout basically. We want to loop through the keyboard and go through each row. Then we want to loop through each, like all the elements in a row and show them as individual keys. So that's why we have row and then row ID here. And then we're again looping through it, looping through the row and returning buttons for each of the letter. So once you're done with this, you can export the keyboard as a component, and then it should, and then import it from here. I believe if you just call it directly, it should work. Uh, so we make a new div, a keyboard, and then we want to give it the information. So I said we need a handle key, right? Uh, so the handle key function, we just pass that along. Next, we need a correct word. Uh, and then lastly, we need the past guesses. So once we do that, you can see a keyboard pop up here. So now, if we wait, let me refresh. The reason it did that is because we had multiple event listeners. But if you refresh, it should just fix itself. And let's say you type acorn. Uh, Again, this is because it's running on IDX. I can show it on my main thing. Yeah, this is how it's supposed to look. Wait. Oh no, maybe it's a macOS thing. I don't know. Oh yeah. This is how it's supposed to look on like a normal browser. Once you type the words, it'll light up yellow and like whatever. If it's not in the word, it goes gray. So uh, you can just play the game now. Like it's done. The limit's not there. You can go past like 6 guesses if you want. But the game is functionally done. I had a challenge I thought would be interesting, which is adding like a pop-up that says, "Hi, this is the word." If you want, you can try implementing that. I think you know like the basis of React now. Uh, yeah, I just added like that. Right. The keyboard doesn't actually do anything. For that, just replace this button. Yeah, now it works. Uh, so you can like type the keyboard here, and it'll actually like affect it. So this is the finished product. If you want to look at it on GitHub, uh, just go to the GitHub link and then change the branch to finished product. And then this is what it should look like. This is what app.jsx and or keyboard.jsx should look like. So this is the source code. Yeah, the challenge I added. Oh, sorry, what's your question? Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I had a challenge for you guys, which is writing this component. You can do that on your own time. Maybe show it to me next meeting or whatever. And then that's it for today's workshop. Does anyone have any questions? If not, you can